Yes, sir. It's your boy Ashy Knuckles. New look Ash. You know what I'm saying? Hair cut, hair be gone, man. Switching up looks on y'all like nothing. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, man, the hair had to go, man. It's too much of a hassle trying to get somebody to bolt it up. And you know me, I wanted to get my stuff done like every week or week and a half at the most, and people just ain't available. And I got the bread, and I'm like, shoot, if you don't want that money, that's all right. I just cut it off, go with a different look. You know what I'm saying? Get them waves back. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'm gonna do this little video today on the fight tonight, Sakio Bika versus Adonis Stevenson. A lot of people are really down on Stevenson, which is kind of ironic because not too long ago everybody was singing his praises, basically saying Andre Ward was ducking him and this, that, and the third. But now that Kovalev has basically emerged as the guy at the weight, everybody's saying Adonis Stevenson is ducking him, and that's typically how it goes in boxing. You know, fights are not made when everybody says, "Hey, make the fight." You know, when you're talking about millions of dollars, the fight doesn't just get made simply because we want it to be made. And this is no exception. I believe Kovalev is also promoted by Main Events, and Stevenson is connected with Al Heyman. And Main Events has not held their tongue about the way they feel about Al Heyman. At the end of the day, if you try to defame somebody or defame somebody's character, who you need in order to secure that type of money fight, that type fight that's going to be lucrative, you may want to watch your fucking mouth. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you may want to watch your fucking mouth because your fighter is the one that's going to end up suffering because of it. And I like Kovalev, and everybody else who like Kovalev. And Kovalev is a monster. And a fight with Stevenson is a fight that should happen. But at the end of the day, all roads go through Al Heyman right now. You know, he got the throne right now. So Kathy Duba should have been in a better mind frame before she opened her mouth. And Kathy Duba was well respected, as is the Duba family. Been around a long time. Been around and has trained, well, not her, but the Duba family. The Dubas have trained many world champions. They've promoted many great fights. And it's unfortunate this fight isn't made yet, but maybe it's gonna manifest sometime in 2015. That would be great for all parties involved financially, and most importantly, great for us boxing fans. It will be a fight to dictate, or basically to determine who is the guy at that weight. As of now, both guys are still on the upwards climb as far as their popularity and their records and achievements at that weight. And that would be just a magnificent fight sometime this year. But as of right now, we got a fight on the horizon with Stevenson and Sakio Bika. And we all know Sakio Bika is a guy who comes to fight. He doesn't disappoint. He doesn't take a step backwards. We know his MO. He ain't trying to throw no jab. He's not trying to be fundamentally sound, trying to dictate behind the jab, set up combinations. No. He wants to cut off the ring, close the distance, get up in your chest, and let his hands go. That's what he does. That's what he basically does against everybody that he fights. And you have to show the ability to weather that storm and reroute him, you know, make him do what you want him to do in the ring. He's coming off of two great fights with Anthony Durrell at super middleweight. Both of those were great fights. Close fight the first time. Second fight, I thought Durrell won handily in winning the super middleweight title. And this will be his first fight at light heavyweight, at least in a long time. And his first fight at light heavyweight is another world title shot. And I think you got to credit signing with Al Heyman, because his last 4 fights would have been championship fights, 3 of which were world title challenges, title shots. And you can't hate the man that's providing it for him. At the end of the day, is it a good fight? Yes. We already know what Sakio Bika comes to do. He's a very tough man, a very strong man. And he will provide a durable, formidable challenge to the champ in Adonis Stevenson. And if Adonis Stevenson has not properly prepared for this type of opponent, he's going to get that chin check. And it's not the first time you see this in the sport of boxing. I have to mention Zab Judah. Zab Judah was a very talented fighter, a very talented champion. But if he didn't feel that you belonged in the ring with him, two things either happened. He either trained for you and got you out of there early, or he half-ass trained and you beat him. And this is the sport of boxing where every fighter has a chance. You gotta prepare for every opponent. And it just seems like the fight against Fonfara with Stevenson, that he did not prepare fully for that type of fight. As shown in the ring, it seemed like after a couple of rounds, he was just totally gassed. And he better be glad that he actually got out of that fight unscathed, because that would have been a tremendous and basically a huge upset if Fonfara would have secured that victory. I think the fight with Bika presents a more stiffer challenge for Adonis Stevenson. Bika has been in the ring with everybody, including Joe Calzaghe, who was one of the best champions, if not the best champion at 168 pounds in history. It's arguable. Some people argue that he's the best to ever set foot in that weight class. And, that's another video and another debate. But at the end of the day, he even gave Calzaghe a tough fight. He gives tough fights to damn near everybody he gets in the ring with. So you already know what he comes to do. And I've already touched on what Bika does well: close the distance. He lets his hands go. But Stevenson is a guy, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a southpaw, a boxer puncher. He was training at the Crunk. He probably still trains at the Crunk gym. There's a lot of great knowledge in Detroit. A lot of boxing toolage that's been passed down from the great trainers of old, and he has taken part in that. And as you can see, when he was being trained by the late Emmanuel Stewart, great trainer, it was a lot of things he was able to add into his game that made Stevenson such a threat. Being agile and being able to move around the ring and set guys up for big, big, big punches. That's one thing you don't have to look for with the Stevenson fight, is big punches. He's a power puncher. He can hit with both hands. The only downfall is that if you can get the Stevenson chin, there's a possibility you can hurt him as well. I'm not calling them chinny, but at the end of the day, fights at that weight, it really don't take much to hurt guys. Not heavyweight, where damn near anybody can be knocked out, but light heavyweight isn't too shabby. I mean, those are significantly bigger guys, significantly bigger punches, and Adonis Stevenson is no slouch in the power category or the hand speed category. So what I expect to see from him in this fight is him boxing, using his ability, utilizing the ring, basically staying out of the trenches with a guy like Bika, where that's where his strengths lie, and just kind of setting Bika up for big shots. Trying to dictate the pace behind the jab, try to keep Bika offset, because he's going to be trying to get at him, and you can tame Bika with a good jab. If you can keep him at the end of that jab, you can set him up for big shots. And like I said before, Bika's going up in weight. He's fighting a substantially bigger guy. This is a substantially bigger punch he's going to have to take, and one of the biggest punchers in the division. So all points to Adonis Stevenson winning this fight. Fights are not won on paper. Fights are not the winners of fights are not predetermined. These are two men. They still got to get in there and do it. And punches hurt. So any punch can land at any point in the fight. So but Bika still has a chance in this fight. Not just a puncher's chance. He has a legitimate chance to win the fight. He's trained by a great trainer, and I say great trainer, but a highly underrated trainer in Kevin Cunningham. What did Kevin Cunningham do? He took guys through the amateurs. They became national champions, took guys to pros, and they became multi-division champions. And Devin Alexander and Corey Spinks. Corey Spinks was very much hated. People called him Corey Stinks because he stunk out the joint a lot of times. But at the end of the day, you got to be based on the W's in the win category. He's traveled abroad to win a world title, got robbed in his first world title shot, came back and won the world title. Then unified with Mayorga when Mayorga was on the uphill swing from knocking out Vernon Forrest and beating him in the rematch. A Vernon Forrest that beat the pound for pound fighter in the world at that time, which was Shane Mosley. So Corey Spinks had legitimate wins on his resume. Then he went up and weighed and fought Karmazin, beat him, and Karmazin had just beat Kasim Uma. And Kasim Uma was hot at 154 pounds at that time, and a southpaw. Southpaw that threw over 1,000 punches a fight. So Corey Spinks got legitimate wins under his ledger as a professional. Devin Alexander, look at his resume. His last 4 or 5 fights, he has not been looking like the Devin Alexander at 140 pounds, but Devin Alexander has fought the who's who in the sport of boxing. He's on team rebuild right now, but the fact remains that Kevin Cunningham took a piece of mold and created champions from those guys. You know, it's not something that everyone is able to do. He's not tweaking these guys. He created them into the champions that they became. And he's done it more than one occasion. So he is a great trainer. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. Teach a guy how to jab, teach a guy how to become a champ. It's 2 different things. And he's very smart in the ring. He usually tells his guys great things in the corner. But usually if they don't go out there and do it, as Devin Alexander has said, my coach told me things I need to do and I just didn't do it. You can't blame the trainer for that. He's giving quality instruction. So, and the same thing with Bika. He's giving Bika instructions, great instructions, and Bika hadn't done it. So at the end of the day, the guys in your corner for a reason. It's up to you to trust their eyes, trust their insight, and go and execute. And if you don't do it, that's your fault. That's not the trainer's fault. But like I said, Bika has a great trainer in his corner, and it could actually be an upset in this fight. The likelihood of it being an upset is probably slim to none, but it still should make for fireworks. If Adonis Stevenson is not on his A game, them titles he coming off those titles tonight. So I can't wait to see it. I think it's a great fight. I got Stevenson though. I think Stevenson lines him up for big shots, and it culminates into a beautiful knockout, further making people's mouth water for a potential showdown between Kovalev, the Crusher, and the Superman. So it will be a huge fight in Canada, considering the fact Kovalev just left Canada, just removed his foot from Pascal's ass. And I know the fans in Canada would love to see a showdown between these 2 guys. They would have loved to see a showdown between Pascal and Stevenson, a homegrown fight right there in Canada. Man, Canada got great fans. They fill up the venues. They come and support their athletes. And that would be a great fight for them at that weight at, the Bell Center in Montreal. So we'll see what happens with that. But as far as this fight, I got Stevenson winning. I think he wouldn't be dumb enough to not prepare fully for Sakio Bika, because if he pulled that shit he pulled with Fonfara and being gassed after 3 or 4 rounds, Bika's gonna knock his ass out. Point blank, period. You don't play games when you get in the ring with that dude. That dude's strong, he tough, he come to fight. Recipe for disaster if you half-assing it in training camp. So we'll see what happens, man. I got Stevenson by knockout. Would not be surprised if Bika wins the fight. It would be a great comeback victory in his 3rd world title shot since losing his second world title shot against Andre Ward. First being with Calzaghe, if I'm not mistaken. That would be 5 world title attempts in his career. Not bad. A lot of guys aren't even given 1 title shot. Winning titles isn't set in stone. A lot of talented fighters have come into this game, still have not won world title. Look at Sakio Bika, not 1 world title. Talented fighter, very talented fighter, never won a world title. Panchito Bajado, he was pegged for greatness, no world title. Rocky Juarez was a silver medalist. He had 5 world title shots, lost all of them. It's not set in stone for a guy to win a world title. It just isn't. Even though the way that they're passing out world titles at this juncture in the game of boxing, it still isn't easy to win a world title. Still, you got to get in there and do it. So we'll see what happens. At least Bika won a world title before. He won the vacant world title, which he ended up losing to Durrell. But we'll see what happens tonight. Who you got? Leave it in the comment section. I'll get at you. It's your boy Ash. Holla at me.